This week on Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, we spotlight guest Chris Wilder of Los Gatos, California. Chris learned to play the guitar in his teens. In addition to his passion and diligent work ethic, he credits his fellow musicians as teachers and co-creators. Chris learned at a young age what it feels like to work with others toward a common goal. Chris has dedicated much of his professional life to nonprofit organizations and was the executive director of the Valley Health Foundation in Silicon Valley when he suffered a stroke in 2021. Chris now applies his life lessons to stroke recovery. Throughout his life, he discusses the importance of facing difficulties, connecting with supportive friends, and dedicating time to a purpose. Chris's story is entitled Part of Something Greater. Thank you for joining us for Part 1, Chris Wilder's Story.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org.
Hello and welcome to Beyond Stillness. Stroke offers a powerful, life-changing shift in perspective. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. This radio show, Beyond Stillness, offers an hour of pause for storytelling and reflection. Ultimately, Beyond Stillness is a welcoming environment that reveres the moment beyond stroke's paralysis. Still moments unite humanity and divinity. I'm your host, Molly Bucola. This week, we welcome guest Chris Wilder of Los Gatos, California. Chris has been a musician throughout his life, founded a couple bands in the 80s with his brother, and even toured the world as the lead guitarist in the punk rock band MDC for a while. He has also devoted much of his life to work with nonprofit organizations. Chris was the executive director of Valley Health Foundation of Silicon Valley when he suffered a stroke in 2021. Now, in addition to his dedication to family, friends, and therapy exercises, Chris serves on the board of Stroke Awareness Foundation. His story is entitled Part of Something Greater. As we begin, we take a moment to slow down and to pause. Chris today speaks about being part of something greater. As we slow down, we draw attention to our breath, to the inhales and exhales, understanding that each consecutive breath means life. Each breath contributes to connection, to purpose, to wisdom, to inspiration, and growth. Today, as we settle in, we give thanks to each individual breath. We give thanks to the collective. We give thanks for the collective. And we ask for courage to do our part in order to serve a world in need of our gifts. Hi, Chris.
Hello, Molly.
Hello. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Music is one of my greatest teachers. When I first figured out how to run Mom's record player, I started learning about the world around me. In early high school, I picked up a guitar at my friend Charlie's house. I felt it then and there. I thought, wow, I may be able to play this thing. Some say that I'm a self-taught musician. I don't believe that there is such a thing. There are a lot of circumstances and people that are involved in my learning. Sitting amongst musicians, I'd listen to them and ask them to teach me what I heard. I knew eventually I'd learn how to play, but it would take a whole long time and effort and pain for me to reach the point to contribute to the group. We would gather at friends' houses and jam. My brother is one of the best musicians I know. He's an amazing drummer. He had his role and I had mine as a guitar player. Everyone had their role. In the mid-'80s, we formed bands together, Sticky being one of them. That's spelled S-T-I-K-K-Y, Sticky. Look them up. We've been playing together ever since. We played our parts, but it was never just about one of us. It was about each of us, all of us, and about the music. We were all a part of something great. Adolescent boys pick up anything around them. There are lots of temptations, habits, negative mindsets, and bad attitudes for the taking. I made sure to hang out with people who I thought were respectful, and I wanted to learn from them. Most of my friends and I learned from each other and from other musicians and music. In that way, we learned about ourselves, life, and the world. Later, music flew me around the world and introduced me to many, many cultures. I love all types of music, played a wide variety. Music has broadened my perspective, challenged me, and invited me to admire and participate in something greater. I went on to believe in this concept. In my professional life, I've always worked for nonprofits. I'm drawn to doing my part while working with a group who wants to make the world a better place. I'm proud to say that I was part of the National Public Interest Research Group, the Vanished Children's Alliance, City Year, and just before my stroke, I was the executive director of the Valley Health Foundation. Before I worked there, I knew Valley Medical Center was an important hospital in Silicon Valley. I knew it served people from all walks of life, rich or poor, and gave everyone access to quality medical care. I wanted to use my talents to contribute to the mission and be part of something great. On March 6th, 2021, I had just returned home from work and was sitting on the couch next to my wife, Kate, when she noticed the right side of my face dropped and my speech was garbled. She asked me to raise my arms above my head. My left arm shot up, no problem. My right arm, no movement. She quickly called 911, and the fire department arrived, loaded me in, and delivered me to Good Samaritan Hospital in Los Gatos. I don't remember any of it. My first burst of memory was at Good Samaritan Hospital. When I woke, the medical team asked me to give a thumbs up if I knew where I was or who Kate was. Thumbs up. I gave a thumbs up. I knew I was in the hospital, and thank goodness I knew who Kate was. And at that point, they knew I was still in there. I was conscious, but unable to speak. I don't remember much after that. Then at some point, there's another memory. This time, I was able to speak a bit, enough to ask a Good Samaritan nurse or doctor when I could be transferred to my hospital. Then and now, I believe Valley Medical Center is the most important hospital in all of Silicon Valley. It was home for me. I ran a foundation to support them. I knew all the doctors and therapists there. They were all friends. I was ready to be with them, especially as I was struggling to survive. Sometimes people who work at a hospital don't want to be treated in that same hospital. I felt the opposite. I had given so much to that hospital, to that community. I knew I would receive the best care there. As soon as I woke, Good Samaritan Hospital transferred me to my hospital, Valley Medical Center. All in all, I was in a coma for a few weeks and had brain surgery twice. Doctors cracked into my skull, took out my left temporal lobe, and put me back together again. In those exact moments, my whole life was cracked, shaken, and I am still working to put it back together again. I remember asking questions about where I was and why I was there, and I remember looking at the clock on the wall and thinking that it was an odd joke to play on someone who had a stroke. The analog clock on the wall had numbers and hands, but they were all in the wrong places, jumbled up. Well, as you can imagine, the clock was actually fine. My perception was not fine. From the very beginning at Valley Medical Center, I had a team of physical, occupational, and speech therapists. At one point, I was thinking about multiplication tables and realized I didn't know what 4 times 4 was. It is so odd to live with a brain that is fully conscious of not being fully able. They would ask me basic questions about life, what I believed in, what I loved. I remember trying to speak, and the words didn't sound correct. It was very frustrating. I thought maybe I could fulfill the therapist's request better without all the tubes, breathing tube, feeding tube, drainage tube. I hadn't had a good night's sleep in too long. I was also distracted by the opioid button. I knew if I touched it, someone would come and serve me opioids in a Dixie cup. When I finally was discharged, it was so nice to return home to my cats and dogs. It reminded me of normal life. I was ready to get back to it. Looking back now, I realized I had unrealistic expectations. I thought I would go back to playing golf a couple of months later. It's been 3.5 years since my stroke. Turns out recovery is much longer and much more difficult than I initially thought. My first obstacle when returning home was withdrawals from the opioids. Nurses in the hospital kept offering me painkillers, so I kept taking them. They never switched to Tylenol, so when I returned home, I had to cut it out cold turkey. It was miserable. I felt irritable and had phantom pain all over my body. I just wanted more of the pills. My head hurt so bad. In the midst of all that, I still knew I didn't want to be addicted to opioids. Earlier in my life, I was a methamphetamine user. Most people don't just get to stop speed. I did. I quit cold turkey. Somehow it was more difficult for me to quit opioids, but I did it. I had to do it to start my recovery, and I was ready to start recovering. I soon realized my therapy sessions were going to get harder and longer. They still are. I'm now applying a lot of time, effort, and pain to each therapy session. I'm intensely motivated, but there are still days that throw me off. About a week after I got home, I tried to transfer from my bed to the wheelchair, and I got it wrong, fell, and my caregiver had to call 911. The local firefighters that showed up to help me back into bed may have been the same ones that responded when I had my stroke. I was frustrated, angry that this was happening to me, and that motivated me to work even harder. I owe it to Kate. I owe it to everyone around me. The days that throw me off teach me a lot. They teach me to go slow and be more deliberate. Once I get through the anger and frustration of the off days, they motivate me. Really, each day is part of this long journey through recovery, and the longest journey we call life. The journey is not my own either. My loved ones' lives shifted after my stroke, too. Their schedules, emotions, outlook on life changed. We are all in this, and I'm so thankful for my wife, Kate, and brother, Todd, and the many loved ones who are supporting me. After much pain, I've learned not to ignore the difficult stuff just because it is difficult. I had been home 6 months when a group of nurses asked me to tell my story so they could learn how it was to be a patient. As I reflect on my time in the hospital and what I hope could change for other patients, I told them how embarrassing it was to not be able to get out of bed to go to the bathroom. I told the nurse who visited me at home that the nurses on duty while I was in the hospital must have been busy or did not realize how embarrassing the act of going to the bathroom could be. At one point, I told them I had to go to the bathroom, and they told me just to go. Just go, I thought. Here in the bed I'm lying in? I wanted them to help me out of bed, walk me to the toilet, so that I could relieve myself with dignity. Instead, they just told me go. The whole situation was humiliating. I'm thankful the hospital has a program that invites past patients to share their experiences with medical professionals. Otherwise, there's no way to know unless they were in my situation. There's no way for the hospital to improve unless each person's voice is heard. That goes for much of my recovery process. There is no way for someone to know what I'm thinking or feeling until we share honestly. It was difficult for me to tell the nurses about the demoralizing experience, yet I also knew they could learn from it and possibly help others through that lesson. In a way, I was advocating for myself and others. I was part of something greater. Other difficult conversations I've had to have post-stroke were with my own friends. When I first returned home, many of my friends disappeared, or as teenagers say now, they ghosted me. My emotional state was much like that of a teenager in myself. In that time, there were many emotional highs and lows. How could someone do that to me? Are they judging me? Where did all my friends go? I still haven't seen some friends. It's difficult to imagine what it's like to be me. I understand that. Others gradually began to reconnect, saying that they were paralyzed by fear and didn't know what to do or say. They thought they had to do something, when all I needed was their company. Fear, I reacted in my mind. Don't you think I was gripped with fear when I woke up unable to walk or talk, when I could no longer work, and the job that I loved had been given to somebody else while I was in a coma? Fear, don't you think I was gripped by fear when some of my friends ghosted me and didn't contact me when I reemerged from the coma? After calming myself, I figured out a way to open the door to difficult conversations with my friends who had all been paralyzed by fear in the situation. They didn't know how they could help. I told them to be available and be present. I said, if I'm not ready to see you, I'll tell you. But please reach out and let me know you are there for me. I've learned not to ignore difficult stuff because it is difficult. This was an opportunity to connect on a human level and for us to learn from each other and possibly help others through the lessons. In these situations, we each play our part. It's important for each person to contribute honestly and generously. Don't ignore difficult stuff because it's difficult. That has always been important to me. Running political campaigns was always difficult. Learning to play music was hard. Relationships can be tough. The stroke community knows recovering is difficult. It takes a lot of effort to face the difficult stuff, and I do. I'm not perfect, though. Before my stroke, I shied away from a healthier lifestyle, and I always talked myself out of going to the gym or for a run. During the early part of the pandemic, I was drinking too much. I've been a vegan most of my adult life, but ate a lot of garbage food. I wish I paid more attention to my weight. It may have prevented my stroke. Now I seek out difficult situations because facing them is a first step toward being able to do more. I wanted to take my dog for a walk on my own. So every day I practice walking, and I want to play the guitar again, so I work on the dexterity of my fingers. I watch what I eat, limit my alcohol, and practice therapy exercises every day. In the Bryan Adams song, Summer of '69, he said that he played until his fingers bled. I did that when I was learning to play the guitar all those years ago. And now I'm applying that same effort to my recovery. I'm not self-taught here either. I'm surrounded by loved ones and therapists. We are all in this together. We are part of something great. I still find purpose in working with others to better the world. After my stroke, a good friend and the founder of the Stroke Awareness Foundation, Chuck Kennisketter, called me and asked me to join the board of directors. Stroke Awareness's mission is to save lives and improve outcomes of stroke survivors. Through awareness and advocacy, we educate hospitals, help certify stroke centers. I wholeheartedly believe in our mission, and I'm proud to be part of the charge to raise stroke awareness. It is quite possible that one of their campaign taught Kate what to do when she saw the signs of my stroke, when I sat on the couch across from her on March 6, 2021. It's very possible that the work of the Stroke Awareness Foundation saved my life. So I'm grateful to be part of the team. I truly believe that we are a sum greater than our parts. My life experience has taught me that sometimes 1 and 1 doesn't come to 2. When I practice diligently, face difficult, and join others on a mission for the greater good, big things can happen. I don't like the odds or play the odds. We make our own success. People, even professionals, told me I wouldn't have much functionality. If you look at the odds, they say I shouldn't be doing as well as I am. If you look at the odds, they say I shouldn't have been the lead guitar player in the major punk rock band MDC. If you look at statistics, saving one life isn't much. But to me, one is a part of many. One is a part of something greater. I'm a part of something greater. You are a part of something greater. We together are something greater. My hope for you, my fellow stroke survivor, is that you will continue to work also hard as it may be, and regain as much functionality as you possibly can over the course of your journey. I hope you take a little bit of inspiration from my story, and I hope that you meet other people that can also inspire you and help you along the way.
Wow, Chris, that is very powerful. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Molly.
In closing, we pause to acknowledge our lives as part of something greater. Our words, actions, talents, perspectives have the power to transform not only our lives, but the lives of those around us. As we close, we acknowledge the people who have supported, taught, and inspired us to be our best selves. Maybe think of one specific person in this moment who has supported, taught, and inspired you to be your best self. Now we offer thanks for them and ask for courage to be that person for others. And we give thanks.
Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke is made possible by our guests and tax-deductible donations from friends and listeners like you. Join us in empowering stroke survivors with stories of wisdom, purpose, connection, and hope at www.beyondstillness.org. Another way to support is to like, share, or subscribe to our weekly show. Again, thank you for devoting time and space for this week's episode of Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke.
Thank you for devoting time and space to listen to Part 1, Chris Wilder's story. Stick with us for Part 2, Chris Wilder's interview. Each colorful memory creates a parable for life's greater teachings, a compass for journeys ahead, and inspired wisdom for unique growth. In this episode of Beyond Stillness, Stories After Stroke, we heard from guest Chris Wilder, who was a guitarist and the executive director for Valley Health Foundation in Silicon Valley when he suffered a stroke in 2021. Chris shared how he applies his life lessons to stroke recovery. Throughout his story, Chris discusses the importance of facing difficulties, connecting with supportive friends, and dedicating time to a purpose. Chris's story was entitled Part of something greater. Again, thanks for listening. And remember, as part of the stroke community, you are more than supportive. You are inspirational.
If you are part of the stroke community and have a story you'd like to share on the show, please contact us. Email molly@beyondstillness.org.